He promised it was just business. Late nights, travel, gifts on my card. I trusted him until I found the engagement ring receipt in his suit pocket. Not my size. When I confronted him, he said, "She's not afraid of who I really am." I smiled. Then I took that ring to someone who deserved the truth, and what happened at their engagement party was, I was 29 when I met Mark. It was at my cousin's wedding in Cincinnati. I wasn't even planning on going. I had just finalized my divorce a few months earlier, and I wasn't in the mood for small talk or fake smiling at people I hadn't seen in years. But my mom guilt me into it, so I went. Mark sat at my table. He was a +1 for someone I didn't know well. Tall, tailored suit, confident posture. He had one of those voices that made you stop and listen, not deep, just steady, like he knew what he was doing. We ended up talking through most of the reception. He told me he worked in sales, software mostly, but he wanted to start his own consulting firm. Said the market was exploding, and he was positioning himself for a big year. I remember thinking, finally, someone with direction. After dealing with my ex for 5 years, a guy who never held a job longer than 6 months and somehow still believed he was meant for more, Mark felt like a breath of fresh air. We exchanged numbers. He texted me that night. By the end of the week, we had our first date. We moved fast. Not in a reckless way. At least it didn't feel like that back then. He was driven but affectionate. Called me every morning. Sent flowers once. Took me out every Friday. Within 6 months, we moved in together. He said we should get a place closer to downtown Dayton so he could travel easier. His job had him on the road often, Chicago, Dallas, Phoenix, LA. I didn't think much of it. He was always talking about chasing leads, growing his pipeline, all that stuff. He said I grounded him, that I was the only one who made him feel calm in the chaos. That was his thing. He always had the right words. The first red flag should have been the credit card. About 2 years in, he told me he needed a card for business expenses, but since his personal credit was tied up in a loan, he asked if I could open one in my name for him to use. He said he'd take care of all the bills, show me the statements, keep everything transparent. At first he did. Every charge made sense. A few meals, plane tickets, Uber rides. Nothing crazy. But slowly things changed. 1 month, I saw a $700 dinner at a steakhouse in Denver. Then a $400 spa charge in Miami. A $1,200 stay at the Four Seasons in Austin. When I asked, he brushed it off. Said it was all for work. Clients expect top-shelf treatment, he told me. That's the cost of closing big deals. I didn't argue. I didn't want to be the insecure girlfriend who didn't understand business. But things kept piling up. He'd leave for 5-day trips and come back exhausted, but weirdly distant. He stopped texting me when he landed. Calls became short. He started keeping his phone face down. I'd ask if something was wrong, and he'd say, "Just stress." I believed him. Because I wanted to. I wanted to believe we were building something. That one day, when he finally launched his firm, we'd be set. But then came the ring. It was a random Tuesday in April. He had just flown in from Charlotte and left his suit jacket on the bed. I was folding it when I felt something in the pocket. At first I thought it was just a receipt. It was. But not any receipt. Tiffany and Company. Engagement ring. $14,200 size 5. I'm a size 7. I've always been a size 7. He knew that. I stood there, holding the paper, staring at it like maybe I misread something. But I hadn't. It was clear. Platinum setting. Cushion cut. Bought the week before. My hands were shaking. I didn't say anything right away. I waited until dinner, trying to hold myself together. I made pasta, poured wine. I asked calmly, "Hey, I found something in your pocket. Want to tell me who the ring is for?" He didn't blink. He didn't ask which ring. He just leaned back, took a sip of wine, and said, "She's not afraid of who I really am."
No parleri. No denial. Just that.
It was like my brain short-circuited. I felt cold, but I smiled. Something about the way he said it. It told me everything I needed to know. He thought he won. He thought I'd scream, cry, beg. I didn't. The next morning, while he was out meeting a client, I found the ring. It was in his golf bag, wrapped in a hand towel like some kind of secret.
Still had the receipt with it.
I took it. Then I took the day off work. I called in sick. I was shaking the whole time, but focused. I spent 2 hours scrolling his tagged photos on Instagram. I knew I'd seen her before. A blonde woman, early 30s, always with a coffee in hand or in front of a sold sign. Realtor in Oakwood. Her name was Renee. I walked into her office like I was a buyer. Asked the front desk to speak with her. She came out all smiles, thinking she was about to sell a house. I asked if we could talk in private. She hesitated, but agreed. Inside, I placed the receipt on the table. Then a stack of credit card statements. My name on all of them. Thousands of dollars. Then a few photos, screenshots of texts he sent me, hotel check-ins, selfies he took with me last month. At first, she looked confused, then annoyed, then quiet. I told her, "He said you're not afraid of who he really is. I just thought you should know who that is before he puts this on your finger." I slid the ring box toward her. She didn't say much, just stared. I stood and walked out. I figured that was the end, but she had a different idea. 2 weeks later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was an invitation. Mark and Renee's engagement party, Rustwood Clubhouse. 7 p.m. Formal attire requested. At first, I thought she was just another idiot. Someone who thought she could change him. But then I noticed the post-it note inside. It just said, "Wear black. Come early." I did. I called in a favor from an old friend who worked events. He was in charge of check-ins. He let me slide in unnoticed. The venue was stunning. Big open room, string lights, buffet setup, music playing. People from both families were there. Lots of fake laughter. Renee was smiling, taking photos. Mark looked smug. Eventually, someone called for quiet. Mark stood at the mic, holding Renee's hand.
He gave a speech.
Said he found someone who believed in him. Someone who let him be himself. Then Renee stepped up. She thanked everyone. Said love was about honesty. Said she had a little something to show before the toast. The screen lit up. A slideshow started playing. It started sweet, photos of them on vacation, her showing off houses, him pretending to help. Then things changed. Photos of me and Mark. Receipts. Credit card bills. Texts. A video of him in a hotel mirror saying he was in Boston when he was with me. The crowd fell dead silent. Then Renee said, "I'm not afraid of who you really are, Mark. I just don't want to marry you." She took off the ring, dropped it in the champagne fountain. People gasped. Some clapped. One woman laughed. Mark stood there frozen. He looked at me, just for a second. Then he walked out. Alone. But it wasn't over. After the engagement party disaster, I figured Mark would try to disappear for a while. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a text from him. "Mark, you think that was smart? You think she won't take me back?" That was it.
No apology.
No questions. Just anger. Like I'd stolen something that belonged to him. I didn't reply. A few hours later, my phone started blowing up. Calls from mutual friends, co-workers of his, even his sister. Half of them wanted to know if what Renee showed was true. The rest? They wanted me to take it down a notch and remember how much he helped me when I was struggling. Helped me? He used my credit to run his double life. He drained my savings with his business expenses. And still, somehow, people thought I should feel bad for him. But what really pushed me over the edge was when I got a notice in the mail. "Your Capital One account is now 60 days past due." That card, the one I opened for him, he'd stopped paying it. And now the balance was over $12,000. I called him. First time I'd heard his voice since the party. He sounded calm. Too calm. "Not my card," he said. "Not my problem." Then he hung up.
Just like that.
I sat there shaking. I couldn't believe how fast he turned. 1 minute, we're living together and talking about buying a place. Next, I'm left with debt, public humiliation, and some smug jerk acting like I'm the villain. I thought I was done with him. But now I had no choice but to fight back. First thing I did was freeze the account. Called the credit card company, explained everything. They said because it was in my name, the charges were my responsibility, unless I could prove fraud. It wasn't technically fraud. I gave him permission. But I still filed a dispute on every charge he made without telling me. Dinners, hotels, gifts. I documented everything. I even found receipts he left in his glove box, ones that matched dates he told me he was in meetings. Then I called Renee. I wasn't sure if she'd answer, but she did. Her voice was tired, but calm. Thought you'd call sooner, she said. I told her about the card.
The debt.
She listened quietly. Then she asked me to come by her office. When I got there, she handed me a folder. Inside were printed screenshots. Photos of Mark's texts to her. Messages where he bragged about keeping his other girl on the hook and having a second apartment lined up if things go sideways. I didn't understand at first. What other girl? I asked. Renee looked me straight in the eye. There was another one. A third. My stomach dropped. She showed me a picture. A brunette. Probably in her mid-20s. Waitress, maybe. Looked sweet. Too sweet. Mark had a whole side relationship going with her too. Said he met her at some work dinner in Nashville. Told her he was a widower. A widower? He said his wife had passed 3 years ago and that it messed him up for a while. That's why he had to move slow. That was the same time he was moving in with me. Renee had found the girl on Instagram. Messaged her. Sent her screenshots. The girl hadn't replied yet. So now there were 3 of us. I wasn't just used. I was one of several. Asked Renee why she invited me to the party. She said, because I didn't want him to just walk away. I wanted him exposed. I wanted to hit him where it hurt. We were quiet for a minute. Then she added, but he's still standing. That's the problem. And she was right. His company hadn't fired him. His family hadn't cut him off. And now he was leaving me with his bills while pretending to be the victim. So we decided to fix that. Renee called in a few favors, real estate clients of hers who worked in media. I reached out to a local blogger I followed who did exposés on shady business people in Dayton and Cincinnati. We put together a file. Photos.
Statements.
Voicemails. Screenshots of him lying to all 3 women. Even the gift receipts, where he used my card to buy perfume and lingerie for the other 2. We sent it to every news contact we had. We used anonymous names. Let the receipts speak for themselves. The blogger ran the story a week later. Local tech rep caught running triple life. On girlfriend's credit, it spread fast. Got picked up by a few smaller news stations. A Reddit thread went viral. Comments flooded in. His company's name got dragged into it. People started questioning their ethics. Mark went silent on social media. Shut down his LinkedIn. But I wasn't done. A week after the story dropped, I got a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. You went too far. I knew it was him. But he still didn't understand. I hadn't gone far enough. That text, you went too far, should have scared me. But it didn't. It made me mad. He still thought he had power. Like he could threaten me with just a few words, and I'd back off. Like I hadn't already lost enough. My savings, my trust, 2 years of my life. And now he wanted me to feel guilty for exposing him. I wanted to shut him down for good. But first, I needed to know exactly how deep the damage went. So I dug. With Renee's help, we tracked down the 3rd woman. The brunette. Her name was Maya. She worked at a bar in Nashville. Part-time singer, super sweet. She hadn't answered Renee's first messages because, get this, she thought Renee was Mark's ex-wife. The one he told her had died in a car crash. He actually gave her a fake name for his dead wife. Used a made-up last name. Said he couldn't talk about it much. Renee called her again, and this time, Maya picked up. I was on speaker. Renee told her everything. At first, she didn't believe it. Said it didn't make sense. Mark was flying out to see her, saying he was moving to Nashville soon, looking at apartments. Then we showed her the photos, the receipts, the timeline. She was quiet. And then she started crying. Turns out she was pregnant. 6 weeks. He didn't know yet. I sat there, staring at the phone, feeling like my stomach had flipped inside out. I thought the worst of it was behind me. I thought I'd hit bottom. But this? Maya told us she had no family in town. Her parents had passed. She told Mark she didn't want to rush anything with him, and he'd actually said, "That's why I like you. You don't try to change me." She had no idea she was just another piece in his little scam. She asked us what she should do. I didn't have an answer. But I knew I couldn't let him keep doing this to people. That week, I filed a police report. Not because I thought they'd arrest him, but because I needed paperwork. Something to prove that what he did wasn't just emotional. It was financial. With the police report, I contacted Capital One again. This time with more evidence. The screenshots, the ring receipt proof he used my card without permission texts where he admitted he was using her. To fund his trips, they opened a full investigation. I still had to pay minimums, but it gave me hope that maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't be stuck with the whole bill. Then came the twist I didn't expect. His boss called me. A woman named Dana, VP of Sales, said she wanted to clear a few things up. I almost didn't take the call, but I'm glad I did. She told me Mark had been under internal review for over a month, long before the blog post came out. Turns out, he had been forging client signatures on deals that never existed, inflating his numbers to make quarterly bonuses, using company credit to fund some of those trips. She asked if I had anything else that might be useful.
I said, yeah.
How much time do you have? I gave her everything. Every receipt, every email, even a voice memo I had of him bragging on the phone to a friend about how easy it is to bend the rules when no one asks questions. She thanked me, said he'd be placed on immediate suspension while they handled things internally. Later that night, Mark showed up at my apartment. Not knocking, banging on the door. I looked through the peephole.
His face was red.
Sweating. He was yelling. Something about me ruining everything, that I didn't have to drag his name through the dirt. And you think you'll get a medal for being a bitter bitch? I called the police. He left before they arrived. But that wasn't the end of it. The next morning, someone threw a rock through my car window. Nothing was taken, but there was a sticky note on the dash. Enough. I gave that to the cops too. I filed a restraining order. Renee helped me install cameras. Maya stayed in touch. Said she wasn't ready to go public, but she wanted to help any way she could. Mark was losing control.
Fast. He was fired by the end of the week.
His company launched a public statement calling his actions a violation of ethics and internal policy. Word got around. His face was on every Facebook moms group thread in the Tri-County area. People he thought would protect him? They turned their backs. But there was still more damage to fix. And more truth to uncover. Because when I pulled my full credit report the following week, I found another credit card account, opened under my name, one I never signed for. The second credit card was opened 6 months earlier. Same bank, same address. But I never saw a single statement. I never got a card in the mail. Turns out, Mark used a fake email account, one with my name in it, and he signed up for paperless billing. The card was maxed out at $8,500. Most of it was spent on airline tickets, hotel rooms, and luxury dinners. Some of the purchases matched his trips with Maya. That was it. That was the moment everything broke. I called the bank, froze the card, and demanded to know how it was opened without my consent. They started an investigation. I sent them copies of my ID, my address history, and even a signed statement saying I never created the account. I told the officer handling my police report. He upgraded the report to identity theft. That changed everything. Now, it wasn't just a financial fight. It was criminal. While all this was happening, Maya called. She was still in Nashville, still dealing with the shock of her pregnancy and the fact that the father was a liar. She told me something I didn't expect to hear. "I'm keeping the baby," she said. I paused. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. She went on. "But I'm pressing charges too. If he wants to pretend to be a dad, he can do it from jail." She had found out that Mark used her social security number to get a lease application approved on a condo he told her he was buying for them. He'd used her identity, without asking. Said he just filled out the paperwork for her, because it was faster. That was enough for her police department to open a separate case. So now, 2 cases were opened in 2 different states. I contacted Renee, and we all decided to do something together. We met in a coffee shop off I-75 neutral ground. Renee brought every document she had. Maya took the bus up from Nashville and brought printed photos of the lease, texts, and bank activity. I brought my folders, the police reports, and a timeline. We called a lawyer. She was a real bulldog, middle-aged, blunt, sharp eyes that didn't blink much. She looked through everything and said, "He's done. If you want civil court, we can drag him. If you want criminal, we've got enough for a federal case across state lines." We agreed. We wanted both. Mark tried to ghost the legal process at first, ignored calls, didn't show up to the first hearing, claimed he never got served. But he was easy to track. He never left Dayton. Just bounced between couches, his brother's house, then a sketchy motel out in Kettering. The second time the cops tried to serve him, he locked himself in a room. That didn't work.
They forced it.
He was arrested 2 weeks later on charges of identity theft, credit card fraud, and wire fraud. Maya's case added an extra count for using her info without consent. His mugshot showed up online. Puffy face. Dead eyes. That stupid smirk gone. But the best part? The civil case. Our lawyer filed a joint suit for damages. Me for $20,000 in fraudulent credit and emotional distress. Maya for identity theft and invasion of privacy. Renee for defamation and business interference. He'd used her name in false emails to clients, pretending they were both starting a firm together. We took him to court. He tried to defend himself. Literally no lawyer. Said we were conspiring against him. Judge wasn't having it. The ruling came back in under 20 minutes. We won. The court ordered him to pay me $22,500 Maya, $17,000 Renee, $15,000 plus attorney fees and a permanent restraining order. He didn't have the money, of course. So his car was seized.
His accounts frozen. Wages garnished, once he finally got a job stocking shelves at a hardware store. The day I saw him again, months later, I was walking downtown near the courthouse. He came out of a side building, head down, in an old hoodie, pushing a mop bucket. He looked right at me. Didn't say a word. I didn't say anything either. I didn't need to. But karma didn't stop with the courtroom. Turns out, Mark had fudged his taxes for years. The IRS opened a case after a tip came in from someone, they never said who. I have my guesses. They hit him with back taxes, penalties, and a full audit. Total, over $38,000 owed. He filed for bankruptcy the following month. As for me? It took time to climb out of the debt he left. But with help from the police reports and the court rulings, I got most of the fraudulent charges removed. My credit started to bounce back. I still have reminders of what he did. I see them in the balance sheets, in how cautious I am now with trust, in the way I double-check every account tied to my name. But I don't feel broken anymore. I feel clean. Renee started her own realty firm and put a giant framed print of Mark's mugshot in the break room, dead serious. It's a warning. She calls it the liar's wall. Maya had a healthy baby boy. She named him Drew. She never put Mark on the birth certificate. The 3 of us still talk. Not every day. But we check in. We remind each other of the strength it took to drag a man like that into the light. Some men think they can live multiple lives. That no one will ever talk to each other. But the truth always catches up. And when it does, it hits harder than they ever expect. Mark learned that the night his world fell apart. And every day since, he's still paying for it.